Hey guys, how are you today? Quick rant before we dive into today's chaos. As some of you might have noticed, YouTube's algorithm has decided I'm not special anymore. Shocking, I know. So now if you don't like, comment, or do a little backflip in the algorithm's honor, this video might just vanish into the void, never to be seen again. Seriously though, even a hi or "this is wild" in the comments helps way more than you think. It tells YouTube, hey, people actually like this channel. Maybe don't hide it from everyone. That can really help push my videos out to a wider audience, not just to my subscribers. So if you enjoy these stories and want to support the channel, that's the best way to do it. Now grab a drink, get comfy, and enjoy the drama. You won't want to miss this one. My fiancé and I, Kat and James, are getting married next spring. We planned a small ceremony in Palm Springs. Fresh air, nothing dramatic, just the two of us celebrating with the people who genuinely care. I've lived across the country from my family for years, and distance has kept the peace. But planning the wedding forced us back into conversations I thought I could avoid. I told my parents early on that we weren't inviting the entire extended family. No cousins I haven't spoken to since high school. No uncles who treat every gathering like a stage for political rants. No aunts who turn everything into gossip. Just the people who mattered. I also hated the drunk uncles, so yeah, no one is invited. Just a few people. That's it. My parents hated it. They said a wedding is a family event and everyone should be included. They didn't care that the venue was small. They didn't care that I wanted an intimate celebration. They wanted a big family reunion with me and my fiancé as the centerpiece. I asked her, will she pay for an extra accommodation? Will she pay for an extra seats in the venue? Who will set up everything? For the food? She says no, and she started the insults of us not being ready to get married, since we cannot pay for the entire family, and started the rants of nonsense that I unintentionally rolled my eyes like 10 times during the whole ordeal, and my mom got upset and called me in a hole, saying that my wedding is the only chance for her entire family to be together. Hello? Seriously? How about Thanksgiving and any other holidays? She still thinks she still has a hold on my emotions, so she starts the guilt tripping first. Then the emotional pressure. Then the passive-aggressive comments about how ungrateful I was for everything they did for me growing up. I held my ground anyway. The thing about me is that I collect limited edition figures, comic characters, movie replicas, signed pieces from conventions. It's been my hobby since I was a teenager. Every trip, every bonus check, every milestone, I'd buy something that made me happy. I kept the entire collection at my childhood home in California, in a locked glass cabinet in my old room. I always told my parents not to touch them. They'd tease me about being too old for that stuff, but they left it alone. At least, until the wedding argument escalated further than I thought. Last month, I flew back home for a short visit. When I walked into my room, the cabinet was empty. The lock was broken. Figures I spent years collecting were shattered across the floor. Some were bent, snapped in half. Others were thrown into garbage bags in the corner, like cheap plastic toys. Signed pieces from conventions I attended alone. Rare editions I saved months for, gone. I was supposed to move out the next month and pre-arrange special transportation for the collections and my other things to the new house my fiancé and I bought. My parents didn't look apologetic. They didn't even look upset. They said I needed to learn not to hold on to childish things, and that maybe this would help me rethink the wedding and invite the whole family. I didn't cry there. I won't give them a satisfaction. I didn't scream. I didn't give them the reaction they wanted. I just felt something inside me turn cold and quiet. I packed the few things I had left, walked out, got in my rental car, and drove straight to the airport. On the way, I blocked every number. When I landed back home in Denver, I blocked every social media account too. My relatives started messaging me through random accounts, saying they didn't understand what happened, that I needed to talk to my parents, that I shouldn't abandon family. But the truth is, I didn't abandon anyone. They pushed me out. I lost a collection that took more than a decade to build. But losing them, that was freedom. The figures can eventually be replaced, even if it takes time. My peace cannot. My wedding next spring will be exactly what I want: quiet, calm, and full of love and not control. If my own blood thought destroying something precious to me was acceptable, then maybe cutting ties wasn't a tragedy. Maybe it was the first healthy decision I've ever made. My fiance keeps hugging me whenever I have a breakdown because of my destroyed collectibles. It was so hard for me to collect those, even the minted ones. Yes, I'm a nerd, but yeah. Will I be the asshole if I cut ties with them? Not the a-hole. This isn't about a wedding guest list or childish hobbies. This is about control and punishment. OP's parents deliberately destroyed items they knew were important to OP to force compliance. That's abusive behavior, full stop. People who respect you don't break your belongings to teach you a lesson. OP didn't abandon her family. They made a calculated decision to hurt OP and are shocked OP refused to tolerate it. Cutting contact is not petty here. It's self-preservation. And now let's hear community's opinion. Not the a-hole, and I'm so sorry. What hit me hardest was that they weren't even apologetic. That tells you everything. Those collectibles represented years of your life, your independence, your joy. They weren't toys, they were yours. Your parents showed you that your boundaries don't matter unless they align with their image of what your life should be. You're allowed to choose peace, even if it costs you relationships that were already costing you your mental health. Absolutely not the a-hole. Also, depending on the value of the collection, what they did could be considered destruction of property. Even if you don't pursue that route, which is understandable emotionally, don't let anyone minimize this as a family disagreement. This was intentional damage meant to coerce you. Your wedding is not a family reunion, and no one is entitled to use it as leverage. Blocking them was a rational response to an irrational act.
Long and crazy story, short-ish. About a year ago, my golden child sister got a new, high-paying job and immediately decided to buy a house. She ended up buying a huge, really expensive house way out of town. It's basically a small mansion. I politely suggested that it seemed overpriced, even for how nice it is. I wondered how the heck she could afford it, even with her new job. I'm sure she had no savings. I also politely asked if it was a good idea to maybe wait until she's more settled into the job to buy a place, since what if the job ends up not working out? Shockingly, no one cared what I thought. Fast forward to now. I graduated and got a job, and am shopping for a place for myself. I'm single, so I'm looking for something small, maybe a one-bedroom condo or small townhouse that's in a good location. Also, my sister lost her job and can't afford her house. To my parents, the solution is obvious. I should just buy my sister's house. They want me to buy it for what she overpaid for it a year ago. Yeah, no. They kept bringing it up and telling me how great it was, and I kept politely saying no. But eventually I asked, why the heck would I want to live in a huge house in the middle of nowhere? Also, it's way overpriced at that price. They all got mad about that and started insisting, no, it's a really good deal. I could probably just turn around and sell it for a profit right away. Of course, I replied. So why doesn't my sister just sell it for a big profit? And they don't have an answer. They deny it, but I'm 99% sure they are somehow financially entangled with the house and are regretting their choice and trying to get out of it. But there's no way I'm going anywhere near that purchase. My husband lost his first parent in early teenage years, his second parent as he just turned 18, which is the legal age here. His siblings are 15 years older than him, and he told me how they resented him for being the sweet and golden child. When his second parent died, they scammed him on the inheritance. As being a fresh adult on his own, he didn't know how to get or afford legal support. And maybe a grieving teenager doesn't really have the energy to fight his much older siblings over the remains of their estate. He lost contact with them over this. He had some tough years after that, as he had neither money nor someone to teach him how to manage adulthood. However, that's some years ago. In the meantime, we met, dated, and married. I took his rather unique name, at least for this region. He is mostly well, but any remark that reminds him of his family is bringing up all those painful memories. He still has attachment issues. Anyway, around 2 weeks ago, I met with some new clients. After the meeting, a lady stayed behind and asked me if I knew someone by the name of my husband. I told her yes, and that he is my husband. Where did she know him from? Turns out, she is his sister, which immediately sent me into protection mode, as I am not too fond of her from the stories of my husband. I am getting a bit taciturn, but we're still chatting a bit, until she asks me if I would give her my husband's contact details, which is where I have to put the cards on the table. That I do not think he would want that, or that it would do him any good. However, she said she's really sorry and wants to fix things between them. I then told her that I would think about it, and I would contact her if I came to a decision. She relented, but wasn't really happy about it. I thought about it for a while. Then I decided that I want to meet with her again, to see if I feel like she is trustworthy. I also decided to hire a private investigator to see if she could have any other motives, like financial hardships or maybe even medical trouble. I feel like we could have met by accident, but it could have also been provoked by her. I don't plan to tell my husband about what's going on until I checked her and feel like she really is apologetic and has no other motives than contacting her lost brother. I fear that it would break him again if his sister came back to take advantage of him. He also said previously that he doesn't want to hear from his siblings ever again, so I am not sure if he would be open to meet her if she turns out okay. On the other hand, he is an adult, and keeping this from him feels quite patronizing. He should be able to make his own decisions. But maybe I should have just blocked any contact attempt from her from the beginning. Should I tell him? My ex-husband and I were together for 17 years. We have 3 children together. My ex is a senior vice president at a major company in New York City. He worked hard over the years, and we were graciously rewarded financially. Both of us work full-time, and our schedules can often run late into the night. Not to mention, we both make frequent business trips. This led us to making a mutual decision to hire a full-time nanny. Initially, we hired 2 young girls to take care of our children. The nanny took care of our children during the week, and a separate part-timer would do the weekend duties on the occasion that both my husband and I were out of town. Our main nanny was amazing, but after a year, she decided to take a job opportunity to better advance her career. We then decided to promote our part-time girl to the main nanny role. A few months in, I began to notice my husband having extra attitude with me. He was constantly taking his stress out on me, which was out of the norm. I started noticing how his mood would change when the nanny was around, and I noticed how he treated her much different compared to the rest of us. 6 months later, he filed for divorce. Less than a year after the divorce was finalized, they quietly began dating. Shocker. And they were engaged and married within another year. We have joint custody of the kids. They stay with their dad during the week, since he kept our old place, which is within close proximity to their school. They spend weekends and most holidays with me. We both live in the city still, so it's fairly easy to transport them from place to place. I have rarely spoken of her since they officially hooked up. The only time I ever see her is when we swap the kids. When I am forced to speak to her, it's usually a simple hello or thanks. It's always awkward, but I cannot fathom humanizing this woman who played a massive role in ending my marriage. She's simply a homewrecker to me, nothing more, nothing less. Recently, I've noticed my kids have been referring to her as Mom while speaking of her, and it has infuriated me to the 3rd degree. My ex and this woman are brainwashing my children into believing this to be the norm. Per our divorce decree, neither my husband nor I are allowed to speak of each other in a negative way towards our children. This has been really hard for me to keep my mouth shut and not call her out for what she is in front of my children. As I dropped the kids off this Sunday evening, I simply told her that she will never be mom to the kids, regardless of what her and my ex try to cram down their throats. Monday morning, I got a text from my ex cussing me out for my comment. He revealed that she's pregnant with their child, and that me yelling at her that way, I did seriously upset her and could have done damage with her being pregnant and all. He threatened to take me back to court and attempt to gain full custody. Was my heat of the blowout moment justified? My work friend Jane, fake name, is getting married in January. I had never considered her to be a close friend, but she asked me to be a bridesmaid, so I guess that means something. For context, I was brought up in India, so it was a major culture shock for me when I learned just how Americans are obsessed with their wedding days about being them. Like, I cannot stress enough, our weddings are filled with at least 700 to 1,500 people. Basically, everyone we know. And weddings are pretty standard unless you are rich. Nobody actually hires a wedding planner or anything, or even personally chooses the flowers and decorations. But the most shocking thing was, brides get mad at kids if they cry because they are taking away attention. Or other stuff like not having pregnant, more beautiful women at weddings, etc., etc. People making pay for their honeymoon. In India, butts would be whooped for being so self-centered. But I have learned to respect this, no matter how bizarre for me. These are all real stories I have heard, and regardless to say, I am scared of American brides and decided long back never to attend weddings and definitely not to be part of it unless it's my best friends. No, I am not going to cut my hair for someone and dress out of my style. I am sorry. Jane knows this. She had laughed at my absurdity. So her asking me was a shocker, and I declined, citing the above reasons. She kept insisting, saying she isn't a bridezilla and would be understanding and whatnot. After 2 weeks of saying no, I finally gave in. Cut to a month later. We have been texting in a group, trying to decide on dresses, bachelorette party, and whatnot. Jane straight up said to one bridesmaid to lose some weight because she might feel ugly with the other girls and it will not be aesthetically pleasing. I got mad at her for that, and she cited the classic reason, saying, I have been planning this since I was a little girl. To which I replied, planning what? To be a bridezilla? And she called me B, saying I should be thankful that I get to be a part of the wedding. And when I asked her what did that mean, she replied saying, I am the only person of color bridesmaid, which will mean I will automatically catch attention, thus taking the limelight away from her. And she also has to be mindful of what color will suit me. I replied furiously that she begged me for 2 weeks to agree to this, and then I backed out, saying she could play Tim Burton with someone else. I am also friends with Jane's fiancé, and out of anger, I told him the details of the fight. He got mad at her, and they must have had a fight, and she called me crying, saying I was a major a-hole and should fix this mess. I replied she should stop being fat-phobic and hung up on her. I know brides are supposed to be under a lot of stress and all that, so I am sort of feeling bad about this. Am I the a-hole? Edit. Wanted to say this. She said, don't be such a B. I think going to her fiancé was a wrong move from my side. I should not have let my anger get me. But fiancé was a friend of mine before they started dating, so I thought I was obliged to. Update. I'm sorry, but the story is 100% real. And I am also sorry if I hurt someone's sentiments by going on a rant about American weddings. I just wanted to tell you how bizarre it really does sound to me. And the stories I listed for examples are all I have heard from my friends. I knew that if I committed to being a bridesmaid, it would be extremely hard for me to bend according to the bride's wishes. So I simply decided never to put myself in that situation. Unless it's my best friend's wedding, who will be totally understanding, hopefully. Why should I agree to something I will 99% hate to do, and then possibly make a deal out of it, thus creating more pressure for the bride? Anyways, someone asked me how I knew the fiancé. Let's call him Charles. And the thing is, Charles and I went to the same college. We never exchanged numbers, but were mutuals on Instagram. I, in a fit of rage, communicated all the details of the fight with him. And I guess in my mind, it was justified by saying he deserved to know about her actions. But yeah, I also did it out of spite, not proud of it. Charles later called me to say they had a fight, and apparently Jane's sister, Lizzie, had made some comments about the other bridesmaids being out of shape, which led to Jane being all mean about it. Also, Lizzie will be the photographer, so it was hard for Jane to contradict her on anything. And I am guessing they also have some issues between them as well. FYI, Lizzie was also in the group chat, and Charles said that she had asked Jane to drop me because no matter what, I will not fit in Lizzie's plan of action. Clicking photographs? The aesthetics of the wedding pictures? I don't know. All in all, I don't think Charles is mad at me for informing him of this crisis. A day after the fight, Jane too called me, calling me a homewrecker. What? And saying I was just jealous of her because she was getting married. Also, a kind person had messaged me here, saying things might even go to the HR. And I threatened her, saying if she made one more R comment, I would drag her to the authorities. She caught the gist and soon hung up. But a few hours later, she texted me, saying that I could give her wedding gift now, itself, since I won't go to the wedding. I left her on scene. And also, the bridesmaid they fat-shamed? And yeah, I wish I could take the whole credit for the Tim Burton comment, but I can't. I had to Google to make sure I was citing the right director before I said that, so thanks to Google too. So anyways, that's it.